Hiya, I'm Nick Livesey. I'm a writer, a photographer, a mountain leader and a composer. I'm also a very, very grumpy man, but I'm trying to change my ways. I don't sit here much, to be honest. I'm usually upstairs in the office. I'm usually only down here to do me cooking and have the odd kip on the sofa. But you're right, it's not a bad spot, is it? I'd never noticed before. Yeah, I mean, these days I mainly just walk or sort of do grade 1 scrambles, although I am looking to get back into climbing again. But in the past it was a very, very large part of my life, rock climbing and winter mountaineering, and I have many, many stories. I suppose the funniest one, or the most interesting one, was getting airlifted, winched off Buckfast Moor after trying to do curved ridge, but ended up halfway up the Gully Buttress and having a bit of an epic. And yeah, helicopter came to get us. It was about 15 years ago now, and we ended up on that wonderful TV series, Highland Emergency. But yeah, that was one of the most memorable ones. I think when you're climbing, the most memorable climbs are the ones where shit happens and, you know, you get yourself into a bit of a pickle and have to have a talking to yourself and get yourself out of it. But yeah, climbing, I'm starting to do it again now, and I'm thinking of going to do my rock climbing instructor certificate as well, because I take a friend of mine and her daughter out climbing, and I've been thinking this is really rewarding actually. This is really good, getting people to do things that they don't think they can do, you know, and watching that accomplishment and joy on their face when they achieve something. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking about the climbing or scrambling side of it, people who've pooed their pants, figuratively speaking, when they finally get up there, that sense of achievement is really rewarding because you've opened a door for them in their life. That's the thing about the outdoors, you know, Julian. It's any level of adventure is your level of adventure, and it's no less valid than a winter ascent of K2, for instance. You know, you start at the bottom and you take it as far as you want to in terms of difficulty or objective danger. But we're competing against ourselves, and we're trying to work towards self-mastery and getting over those things that hold us back in life, you know, those fears. Because that's what holds us back in life. It's being scared of failing or being scared of things that you don't quite understand. So if I can help people to get past that, and all these things are transferable. If you're 500 feet up a big exposed mountain crag and you don't like it, you can't walk away, you're committed. So you've got to deal with it. And if you can do that, where your life might be in danger, then back in the valleys, back in the towns and cities, things that you might have found very stressful before, suddenly you're more equipped to deal with them. It's about dealing with high stress situations, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I've had that many a time, yeah. And it's such a joy to have that, it really is. And that's why I do it. I mean, okay, people give me money to go and do what I love doing and I would be doing anyway. Seems a little bit immoral, really. But not everyone's as brave not as I am, because I started out really, really timid. You know, I didn't have the money to hire a guide. And it's not just about the climbing either, or the walking. It's about educating them about the flora and fauna, geology, the way the land has been formed, and through, you know, man's mark on the landscape. And I have had several people who've said, look, I've got the bug now, thank you so much for opening that up for me. And I keep in touch with a lot of them as well. I ask them to let me know what they're doing, because, you know, as their experience grows, so does their ambition. So I'm always really interested to hear about what they're getting up to or their next trip. Yeah, And in lockdown, I pretty much spent most of my time here. Instead of going in the hills, I just sat around in here. And there's loads of like little nooks and crannies and little collections of boulders that I'd even sleep out here some nights. Really peaceful little place. Very, very lucky I am. But no, this for me is heaven. I can't think of anything better. Well, actually, I wish I could tell you more, but I can't. And I've recently been trying to find out more about the house. It's about 250 to 300 years old. But you can't find anything about it, really. But I know it's obviously still a working farm. My little house would be called the Buthin, which is where the farm worker would live. And that would be nothing like it'd be about a little hovel, really, you know. Still is. But
it's home, isn't it?
It's home. It's damp. It's smelly. It's freezing cold. But there's nowhere I want to be because look at this place. It's just incredible. So I've always had that rural feeling, that yearning to live in a rural area. I'm not quite sure why that is, because obviously I was born in Manchester and lived most of my life in Peterborough, in quite a built-up area. But I always yearned for peace and quiet, and I suppose space, mental space as well as physical space. And I've got that now, and I'm happier than I've ever been.
So you're not moving, that's what you're saying?
Unless something ridiculous happens, I intend to spend the rest of my life here.
Have you picked out a plot? Are you going to scatter your ashes somewhere?
Yeah. Llyn y Foel at Moel Siabod just over there, which we'll visit tomorrow on our little journey.
We're going to visit your future grave?
Yeah.
Magic.
Yeah. But just 2 days ago, Jock's dog, Chester, beautiful boy, 16 years old, lived his whole life here. He had to be put to sleep, but we buried him. I'll show you the grave in a minute. It was very, very moving and upsetting at the same time. But it's really nice to know that he's here and he'll stay here. And I'll be up there, and that's where I'm staying. That's Moel Siabod. That's where we're going tomorrow with a couple of my clients. And we're going to go up the Eryri Ridge, which is a nice sort of easy scramble. But the view's just amazing from here as well. You can see Glyd y Fach, y Foel Goch, Gall yr Ogof, Pen yr Olwen and Canedd Dafydd. I was going to colour up nicely the sky later. I can see nuclear conditions going off in the distance and not feel bad that some other buggers get in the conditions photographically, but I'm not. It doesn't actually bother me anymore. It used to. You know, if I went out on the hills and I didn't get any pictures, I'd be really upset with myself. But I had to have a talk to myself because that's just wrong, isn't it? It's not about pictures. You know.
But midges, isn't it?
It's all about the midges. And if you... Chester Fester, cheeky Chester. He was a cross between a boxer and a Welsh collie. And he was born down at Cobden's Hotel in Capel 16 years ago. And he was such a character. But at that age, he's become very, very frail. And it just came to the point where they had to put him to sleep. And we put him in here the other day. It's very, very upsetting, of course, but I'm glad he's here. I come and say hello to him every day, I do. It's not any old wine, you see, it's a Buckfast, beloved of Ouija Neds and ne'er-do-wells, the length and breadth of Great Britain, if you can get your hands on it. No, I love red wine, I really do, and I've always known about Buckfast. Its reputation precedes itself. And I bought a little half bottle a few weeks ago from Better Secoid, and I just thought I'd have a little taste to see what all the fuss was about, and I tasted it and it was delicious. And I couldn't believe it because this is like the wine sort of equivalent of Carlsberg Special Brew or Tennant Super. And it's laced with caffeine, and they call it Wreck the Hoosh Juice, or Buckfast gets you fucked fast. And but it really tastes nice. I do recommend it now and again, you know. Give it a go. It's really nice.
So I guess not many people know that you... Or do many people know that you record and write your own music?
Well, for many years I didn't. So it's only people that knew me in Peterborough when I was a young man. It's only them that knew, because music was very important to me then. And that was kind of what I identified as a musician. So I gave it up for many years until lockdown, and I picked up the guitar again, which I never thought I would ever do, but it was really, really cool, and I found that I enjoyed it. And then even more so, I found that I enjoyed composing, which was always my main thing. And people are just starting to learn that I am a musician. So it's not another string to me bow, it's always been there, but people are quite surprised when they learn that I am a musician.
So what musical instruments do you play?
Well, the musical instruments that I play well these days are very few, but back in the day I was a very good drummer, bass player, guitar player, keyboard player. I played saxophone and clarinet, and chromatic harmonica as well, because I was a very big Stevie Wonder fan. Still am. But what I found was, because I was always my band leader, I wrote all the songs and I would direct the musicians. If we needed a sax player and none of them played sax, he'd be like, oh shit, I need to go and get a saxophone and learn how to play it. And within a week or so, I'd be playing competent saxophone. Same with chromatic harmonica or any of the other instruments. The mother of my children, Nikki, in 1989, when I was 15, she bought me, I was really into this guitarist called Yngwie Malmsteen, who was a Swedish neoclassical guitar rock god. And he had a signature model Fender Stratocaster. And she bought me a second-hand version of it, 1989, a second-hand copy, for £1,000. So as a 15-year-old, I had an Yngwie Malmsteen Strat, I had a Boss ME5, which was one of the first multi-effects boxes you could get, and I had a Laney stack, a 50 watt stack with like two 4x12 cabs. So I had the whole fucking thing when I was 15. It's a shame I sounded like someone who was wearing boxing gloves when he fucking played. Probably still do now. What I find is when I write about the mountains, or I make films about the mountains, or I write music about the mountains, what I'm doing is expressing myself in a way that I can't verbally. And that's why I've always done it. Because it's embarrassing to say, I love this, I'm so passionate about it, it makes me feel a certain way. Then you're putting the barriers down there and you're making yourself vulnerable. But if you do it in a creative fashion, you know, you're not vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? It sounds very stupid, but I guess what it is, it's a form of non-committal expression. Absolutely, of course it is. Of course it is, because you're not only recording what's in front of you, you're manipulating what is in front of the viewer. Now we can do that with photography, with our processing. We can see a scene as it is and then do our magic on it to make them feel a certain way, be it dark or light. But melody and harmony doesn't lie. It doesn't matter on the stylistic setting. We're hardwired somehow to understand harmony and melody, and whatever social conditioning we've been subject to, we cannot get past these notes of music, these 12 notes of the diatonic harmony, which is what we've learnt since the classical period in, you know, the 1700s. It's almost hardwired, and as such, it's a much more effective way of manipulating people's emotions. And when you can manipulate people's emotions, you have complete control over your art. Okay, so this is a short piece called Hrinogydd Concerto. And I suppose it's aping the Warsaw Concerto, which was a kind of pastiche of Rachmaninoff. It's like a pocket symphony, if you like.
And you wrote and composed and played all this?
I did, yes. But the Hrinogydd is my favourite group of mountains in Wales. And this is a piece that I composed to evoke the feelings that you get in that place.
So when you play this bit of music back, what do you feel?
I feel I can't believe I did it, because it was almost as if in a trance. It's like the music is sent to me from somewhere else, and it just comes out through my fingers, and I'm like a conduit rather than a composer. What really gets up my beak is that newcomers to the outdoors and landscape photographers that really should know better just aren't doing their research. And that manifests itself a lot of time in just not necessarily pronouncing the names wrong, but getting them completely wrong, like topographical features. One of mine is they like to say they've done the north face of Trevan. Now, Trevan's got two faces and neither of them face north, but it has got a south ridge and a north ridge. So they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know the difference between a face and a ridge. Of course, north face sounds much better. It's got that kind of Eiger-esque quality to it, hasn't it? You know, that, come on, doing it for the gram. And then there's geographical tautology, which, oh man, I mean, I can be a grammar Nazi at times, but just put the bloody work in. Invest yourself in your subject, so you're not looking like a bellend all the time. For instance, I'm going to the Langdale Valley. Well, firstly, there's two Langdales, Great and Little. And Langdale, as far as I'm aware, means long valley. So you've got a tautology going on there. I'm going to the Langdale Valley. I mean, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Another one, Lake Windermere. Mere is lake. I'm going to Lake Winderlake. Winderlicker. I say, come on, will you? Come on. Just raise your game a bit. Think about what you're saying. Read a book. Read a book. Get your information from a book written by someone who really knows what they're talking about. And not some tit on Instagram or Facebook. Because that's what's happening. And then all this stuff is... and that's what winds me up, because people, they don't care. They don't care about what's right. They'll rather be watching Brave Dave. You know what I mean? There's some twat like me, but I do know what I'm talking about. Even if I am just an... Oh, you've got me started now, haven't you? I'm not playing, I'm not biting. I'm not biting. Yeah, got about a 2 kilometre walk to the cafe. Get the legs working for later.
You've got quite a history with the cafe though, don't you?
I have indeed, yeah. I've worked there for 7.5 years. And I've got to be honest, I pretty much hated every single minute. But I'm so much happier. Because me and the cafe just weren't a good fit. You know, I like to be on my own in peace and quiet and be with my thoughts. And being in such a pressured environment was really, really playing havoc with my mental health. Really was. It was awful.
And do you think that's why you were quite... Because you had a bit of a, I guess, reputation for being grumpy.
Yeah, I was downright rude. I was just so frustrated. You know, every hour of the day I felt like I was being mithered and pestered by people, which is what I was there for, you know, fair play. But I did get a reputation for being very, very rude, very grumpy. And that wasn't really the kind of person I wanted to be. You know, that's not what I'm about. I'm an enthusiast. I'd rather tell you about what I love than what I hate. So when they were talking about coming out of the first lockdown, I was filled with dread and I thought, I just can't go back there. You know, I can't do it. Come what may, I'm going to leave and see what happens. It probably wasn't that clever in the middle of a pandemic when all my customer base weren't allowed in the country. But sometimes you've just got to go for it. And it's not been easy, but I'm a lot happier because I'm the master of my own destiny. Well, we're all multifaceted, aren't we? And I can be grumpy still, but I found that I was becoming a caricature. And that's what people expect of me. You know, I've become labelled the grumpy bastard or whatever. And I'm not, so in time I think they'll forget about it. The less they ask me for half-shot soya decaf lattes, the less grumpy I'll be. But I want people to remember me. It's like my bloody epitaph, this, isn't it? As someone who really, really loved these mountains. And somebody that immersed himself and gave himself to the mountains and lived it by the full measure. Not just toyed with it, but actually had the commitment to say, right, Eryri, Snowdonia, I'm going to devote myself to you. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life living it. You know, not being a tourist or a visitor, somebody who's actually gave himself to the landscape. So whether that's through music, writing or photography, what I'm doing is genuine. And I'd like to just be remembered as somebody that's associated with Snowdonia. In much the same way as Wainwright is associated with Lakeland. Of course, I'm not making that comparison. But that's how I'd like to be remembered. Not like some grumpy shithead. Nice, because it is a nice cafe. You know, good staff and whatnot, but you know, I was no good the other side of the counter. Too many cunts. Yeah. It's your fault.
So is that the Nick Livesey bacon roll then? It's a special breakfast item.
Yeah, it's very well done and no butter. I'm really fussy about my food.
But I noticed that you've already had a few people come up and chat to you. It's quite a good community, right?
It's a great community, yeah.
It's like super friendly.
They're super friendly and they're super happy because, you know, they're doing what they want to do. They're living in the mountains and just generally having a brilliant time, you know.
Are you having a brilliant time?
Oh, this is about as good as it gets, you know. Wyn, dach chi'n iawn?
Iawn, diolch, Susie.
Yeah, a dim a Julian.
Shwai Julian?
Julian yn ffilmio fi heddiw yn y
ie.
flynyddoedd.
Ie.
Lle wyt ti yn mynd heddiw?
Dwi'n mynd i ddringo i Cowlyd iddi fe.
Lle?
Llyn Cowlyd.
O, Cowlyd, rŵt newydd.
Rwyd newydd, ie.
Bendigedig.
Ie, yn yr hael.
Iawn.
Ffantastig.
Tawydd yn iawn.
O, tywydd yn bendigedig.
Ie.
Ie, be ti'n neud?
Ti dwi ddim yn dallt.
Ti'n mynd all?
Ie, mae'n ddrwg gen i. Sais ydw i a ddim siarad Cymraeg yn dda.
Yn siarad reit da, chwarae teg.
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Iawn, yn
Ie, iawn.
Wel.
That was Wyn bach, little Wyn. And he's like, he knows loads about the hills. He's like me, he's really obsessed with them. And he's like first language Welsh, as most people are around here. So I always try to speak a bit of Welsh with him. We always end up reverting back to English. So I suppose you could say that I'm fluent in Wenglish.
Has it been quite important to you to understand the language and
Yeah,
understand more
definitely.
about the culture?
Definitely, because I don't want to be like your typical English expat, you know, immigrant. I love the place and I love everything about it, and I think learning the language as best I can is really important. Makes me feel closer to the place, makes me feel more genuine. You know, if I'm sort of thought of as some kind of authority on Snowdonia in the mountains, and I can't even pronounce the place names, let alone speak the language, my credibility's gone. So, I mean, if I say to you I genuinely love Wales, I genuinely love Snowdonia, then if that love really is genuine, then I've got to learn a language, haven't I?
So it's not just about liking the mountains and the scenery.
It's
about
the whole
everything.
thing. It's the whole thing. Because it is all inextricably linked. The landscapes, the culture, the folklore, the history, the industrial heritage, and the landscape all come together here. It doesn't happen in anywhere else in Britain that I can see, where all those things come together and form a whole. But that's what makes the place so rich, you know, as a place of study and experience. And you can dip in and out if you like, but I want it all. I want it all. Because this is my home. This is my life. And I love it. It's another one of them things, isn't it? Cloud inversions. Firstly, you'll get someone who's on the Great Ridge, Castleton, Mamtor, and there's a bit of valley mist, and they'll call it a cloud inversion. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's not a cloud inversion, it's a temperature inversion. Clouds don't invert, they don't go upside down, but temperature does. Usually we have lapse rate on the high places, you know, where with every 100 metres it can be 1 degree cooler. So you expect it to be cooler on the top of the mountain than you would do in the valley most of the time. But when you get a temperature inversion, it swaps round. It's not a cloud inversion. Please don't call it a cloud inversion. Please.
This is your job now, isn't it?
This is my job. This is me at work today. And
Who have we got with us?
we've got Martin and Sally, who are return customers, and you've become quite good friends over the last couple of years. We've been working together.
Well, we've walked just straight out from your house here, haven't
We
have.
We just come straight. This is, you know, in effect my back garden, yeah. So very, very nice. This is work. Yeah,
Pretty nice, eh?
I'm feeling pretty smug right now. Yeah, not so much on the wet days.
Is this one of your secret routes? Is this your USP, isn't it? The Discover Secret.
Well, yeah,
Snowdonia?
Discover Secret Snowdonia. The main ethos is to take people away from the busy bits, because what hills are really good at is replenishing and rejuvenating your soul, and, you know, and connecting with something deeper, which you can't do on Snowdon or in the Ogwen Valley on a summer afternoon. So while Chabod's quite popular, this particular route isn't. You know, you don't find this in many of the guidebooks. Look at her up there, beautiful. Well, of course, today isn't really a photography day. I mean, the weather's not great for that, but that cascade there, for instance, you know, no one's ever shot it, really. You'll never come across shots of that because this is really off the beaten track. And that's, you know, Discover Secret Snowdonia for photographers, is I'll take you to places that, you know, people just don't go to, away from the honeypots. So you can discover your own Snowdonia, you know, and come up with images which are a little bit different from the ones you see all over social media. But that's just a great example of a beautiful little hidden gem which nobody knows about. We're at Llyn of Oil, which is Lake of the Bear Hill. So the east face of Moel Shabod there, Diothyr Ridge going up, there's the summit just over there, and our return journey will go over the northeast ridge, which is really, really quite spectacular and beautiful. But I did mention about my ashes.
Oh yeah.
And this is where they're coming.
Here?
Yeah. I've just got such a long association with the place and it's home, because, you know, it is literally the back garden.
So you'd be quite happy to spend eternity here?
Definitely, yeah. I remember somebody asking Wainwright the same at a nominate tarn. And he said, could you imagine a better place? I'll be in good company. The other day I got a letter from a lady who said, my husband says when he's dead, he's coming here too. So I'll be in good company. Oh yeah. I mean, of course we can walk around anything we don't like the look of, but where's the fun in that, eh? There's two options to escape this little gully. One harder than the other. I'll see if I can get them to do the harder one this time. But
we're officially scrambling, aren't we?
We are scrambling, yeah.
And what grade's this?
It's a grade 0.5, I would say. It's not a full grade 1, which is where the scrambling grades start, because it's not committing. You know, as I say, you can walk around anything, you can weave in and out. You're not forced to confront any of the technical difficulties head on. But that's definitely what we are doing, because it's wonderful rough rock. It's really beautiful stuff, and on a day like this, it'd be rude not to. In the mountains, it's the only time that I feel really comfortable with myself. You know, I'm definitely, I mean, now it's just amazing. I'm lying here, I've got this lovely rough rock under my fingers. You know, it's warmed by the sun, I've got the wind in my hair, both of them. And I couldn't be happier. Yeah, super happy. Super happy. I mean, why wouldn't you be? How couldn't you be? I'd say, I mean, I think about, I could be down in the valley now working at the cafe, you know, with people coming in saying, oh, it's a lovely day, isn't it? I'm like, what are you on about? What are you telling me for? I'm stuck here. How very insensitive. Or people asking me for soya lattes and stuff and saying, where's my soya latte? You know, I've not made it yet. Sit yourself down and before you have an accident. But I'm not anymore. I'm free. I'm free in these mountains, you know, to live the life I want to live, and I don't know how long I'm going to be alive. You've seen my lifestyle. Not exactly healthy, is it? But what I do know is it's going to be good for however long it lasts.
And at least you know where you're going to end up as well.
Yeah.
You've got picked a nice spot.
Yeah, yeah.
We're on Shabod's northeast ridge on the descent now. And it's just gorgeous. I love the way the rock's formed. It's not granite, but it looks like it. And it reminds me of Torridon, the Torridonian sandstone, or the granite on Arran. Arran, I should say, the Scottish version. But it's just a lovely, lovely airy perch, you know. Hands in pockets, but just still airy and beautiful. Which is quite worrying when you come round here and see the big crack in it. Well, I love the idea of wild camping, especially from a photography point of view, because you get 2 bites at the cherry. But, truth be told, I feel quite insecure and anxious inside a tent, because if I hear any noises, I don't know what's going on, and I imagine all kinds of terrible scenarios. But with bivvying, you know, you can see what's going on around you. You're really close to the landscape, and this time of year it never really gets dark. It's just a glow from the northwest all the way around to the northeast in the morning, and it's just lovely. You doze off and you feel the breeze caressing your cheek, and you wake up and look up and there's, you know, the Milky Way above you, and it's just mega. You can't see anything in a tent, can you? This is where we start to retrace our steps. I gotta say, I'm knackered. Come on, let's go. The proliferation of the word hiking of late really gets on my nerves. Disproportionately. I mean, I'm raging because I know the word used to be in usage, you know, back in the 30s, and even like the 70s, but we've got these new breed of Instagram hill walker who now call it hiking, and it boils my piss, it really does. And it shouldn't do, but I'll tell you what it's like. It's like this thing that I do, hill walking, has got a long history and a long set of traditions and everything. And it's like these people come along and they rename it hiking. And it's like when you're into a band that are quite underground and cultish, and then it gets discovered by the masses, and it, you know, it's like appropriation of something. It's like they've come and owned it, and it's like old farts like me feel so irrelevant now. Do you know what I mean? And even things like Plas Brennan or the British Mountaineering Council have started using it to attract new people to the hills, which is a difficult thing because I've always wanted to attract people to the hills, but only when they leave their urban attitudes behind them, you know, not bring them to the hills, because then the hills have got nothing to give them. Or it's probably more likely that I'm just a miserable old bastard.
Yeah, fantastic, but I'm absolutely gooched. I'm buggered, I really am. Getting old, innit? Getting old. But it was great. Did you have a good time?
I had a lovely time. Brilliant. But I did notice that you didn't have your camera out. Did you take your camera with you?
No, I didn't. I usually do, because I like taking pictures of people now. But now I thought with the drone I won't bother.
is landscape photography still a big part of your life?
No. No, it's not. It's not in that I'm completely obsessed by it like some of us are. But I've been doing it for 10 years now, you know, and I don't like what it's become. So, you know, when things get popular, as I said before, I tend to want to just back away from it because it's not cool anymore for me. It doesn't have that mystique or allure. But what I'm bored of is the big banger image, you know, golden hour, big landscapes. It really doesn't turn me on anymore, so I prefer to shoot in the middle of the day now. And that sounds, it's like a completely reactionary thing. So I think I've not gone off landscape photography, I've just gone off what landscape photography is. So I still enjoy doing it for myself. And it's still good to have the skill set for things like, you know, writing and stuff. But it's so boring, Julian, it really is. It's so boring. And the people that do it are really boring as well. Really boring.
Thanks. I'm deliberately going to put you out of focus now.
I'm not saying I'm interesting. That's not my point. I think I'm a bit of a dick. I wrote a book. It came out nearly 3 years ago now, and I'm so close to it. I don't know if it's a good book or a bad book. I can't give an objective opinion, really. But what I do know is it's one of the most significant achievements of my life, and I'll tell you why. Now, if you want to come back with me in time to the heady days of the late 80s, it was February the 3rd, 1989. I was 15 years old. And I'd just done my first gig at the Peacock pub in Peterborough with my band, thrash metal combo called Critical Mass. Quite. And the next day I was so knackered and I'd had a few drinks that I skived off school. And I'd been doing a little bit of that at the time. And my head of year, Mr. Hallam, he rang up me mum and he said, look, Nicky's not been doing, because he called me Nicky then, Nicky's not been doing his work properly and he keeps skiving, right? So I'm afraid we're not going to enter him into his music GCSE. So at this bombshell, I got on the phone and I said, Mr. Hallam, you can stick your fucking school up your arse. I'm done with it. I'm through with it. Forget it. And so about 6 months before I was due to leave school, I left early. And I had no GCSEs at all. You know, so no academic qualifications. And they just said to me, look, you're going to do nothing with your life. You're going to be stuck in a crappy job that you hate, if you're lucky. And, you know, you've got a brain on you, but you didn't apply yourself, and you're just going to end up in the toilet. And it looked like that was going to happen, but when I discovered these mountains, and I decided how much I loved them, and I wanted to tell people all about them, and how they transformed the life of a lad from a council estate in Peterborough, I went straight to the source of all the great writers of mountaineering literature. You know, the Abraham brothers for photography, O.G. Jones for climbing, Walter Parry Haskett Smith, right the way up to Wainwright, Walter Poucher, many, many, many more. And I became obsessed, and I immersed myself into this life. And it turned out that I wrote this book, and I'm quite proud of the fact that I did write a book with a foreword by Sir Chris Bonington. You know, and I just wish I could see Mr. Hallam and say, look, Alan, this is what I've done with myself, and this is where I live. And the message I would give out to anybody else is that passion trumps education every single time, as long as it's allied with application, you know? Don't let anybody tell you what you can or you can't do. There's so many different ways of learning, but it seems now that there's only one way of teaching. And these days, you know, the arts, anything that's not quantifiable by numbers are getting phased out. So if you want to be educated, take it upon yourself to educate yourself. Find something you really love and be an enthusiast. Go for it. So yeah, I am known for being grumpy, and you know, I'm grumpy because I get frustrated.
So really, it's not external things that are making me grumpy, it's the way that I choose to view them, it's my perception of them. So I decided this year that I would start sort of manifesting and putting out good vibrations. And hopefully that's what's going to come back to me. And it's working so far. And, you know, with things like tourists who are dropping the litter, driving like morons, all the rest of it, you know. I can't change it. It doesn't matter how grumpy I get about it. I can't do anything about it. OK, so they're shitting all over the place and dropping the litter. That's transient. It could be cleared away. These people are scum a lot of the time. But, you know, maybe I was scum once and the hills helped me to sort of live in a better way, you know, a kinder way, a way that's more considerate and respectful to the environment and other people. But if we start saying, you people are not welcome here because you're just arseholes, then there's no dialogue. You can't educate someone by going, oi, dickhead, what are you doing? It's over. That's where it's over. You're not going to get anywhere. So you've got to be kind to people, I think, or you've got to educate, but with kindness and humility. Any kind of elitism is just going to push people away, and you're never going to change anything, you know. We're also outraged by things now. It's become a way of life, innit? What can I get outraged about now? But who's that going to help? Nobody. It's certainly not going to help the outraged. You just end up having a flipping heart attack or an ulcer or something. So that's what I think about it now, and by and large, it's working for me. So there you are, the new look, happy Nick Livesey.